Okay, folks, we have returned, and looks like I'm gonna get to go to this next case for free. This is case number 43. We only have 17 more cases. The witching hour. Matthew, Charlie tells me the airship has reached Grimm Chapel. Everything does look so quaint from up here. However, Grimm Chapel is rumored to have a bit of a dark supernatural side, which will certainly make for a change from the paved walkways and business suits of Wolf Street. Mind you, we've had our hands full between Larry Rochester setting up a fake telephone company to sell people worthless bonds, and him killing the deputy mayor when she refused to cover up for his crime. It seems the deputy mayor was in the Rochester family's pocket, just like that family, to buy their way out of trouble. Not that we could prove it. We've resolved the financial crisis, at least, with Charlie making the telephone company legitimate and valuable to its many investors. But there's still the matter of rumors about the Rochester's deal with the devil, which somehow eliminates their enemies. People say all this goes back to Grimm Chapel, so I guess it's time to step out and see for ourselves, Matthew. Matthew, from the airship, it didn't seem like so much of Grimm Chapel was woods. I think we're lost. You're right. With the light of dawn, I can see a clearing with a pond up ahead. Let's make our way there. Yep, I have the cat equipped. Alright. Oh dear. Another murder. Of course, I am starting a little later than usual because I had a medical emergency yesterday. And I see the written paper, and it is all done. And I've got the first star, no doubt about it. Dash my wig, Matthew. That woman in the water is dead. And look, on her chest is the word witch written in blood. Did someone believe this woman to be a witch and then kill her for it? But who believes in witches? Whoever it was, they tied the woman up to a wooden plank and forcibly drowned her. This is murder. This plank she's tied to does look like it's been here for quite some time. It's clearly not something put here by the murderer. Unfortunately, there's nothing to identify our victim, but perhaps this wallet or torn paper can give us some answers. Matthew, we came to Grimm Chapel to investigate the Rochester's deal with the devil, and the first thing we do is stumble upon a peculiar murder. We must untangle this bizarreness immediately. Hey. Now I need to get some stars. Sit tight, folks. Sorry guys, I had to go pick up some dinner. So obviously I'm going to have to split that up. But I got 15 stars. I got all stars so far. And I did start Autopsy. And I'm currently under unlimited energy happy hour. If this thing will hurry up. There we are. membership card. Matthew, what's this card you found in the wallet? It appears to be a membership card for the Historical Society of Grimm Chapel. And it's been issued to one George Okamoto. I wonder how Mr. Okamoto's wallet found its way onto our crime scene. Let's go find him and ask, shall we? Now, for those of you who are wondering, usually I would start this the day before, but unfortunately yesterday I had a fainting spell in my class. And then everything was kind of like a little wobbly for me for the rest of the day. But I was back to myself, feeling back to normal. Greetings, my friends. I am George Okamoto, historian extraordinaire, keeper of the lore and legend of this fine town. May I help you? Mr. Okamoto, we're from the flying squad. We found your wallet at the pond where... Oh, you found my wallet. Thank you kindly. I'm so scatterbrained, I must have lost it on my walk. Well, actually, a woman was drowned in the pond on a wooden plank of sorts. We assume she was perceived to be a witch. Someone's been killed, you say? And it's a witch? Then it must be Aubrey Miller. She's the only one known as a witch around these parts lately. How dreadful. This town has a long history of witch hunts, and that dunking bar is a relic from those times. Horrible to learn the practice has been revived. Surely this Aubrey Miller was not actually a witch. Perhaps not, but this is Grimm Chapel, my friends. We are no strangers to the supernatural. It's what makes this enchanting town of ours so unique. Whatever she was, Mrs. Miller was also an herbalist and midwife. She practiced all her crafts in her workshop on the edge of town. Mrs. Miller's workshop, you say? Matthew, if we want to learn more about our victim, we should go there at once. And we will. Let's post this to Facebook. I have been posting my coins just because I want as much cards as possible. I have been able to live with the changes of the sticker packs and all. Matthew, this page that seems torn from a book reads, "Drown the Witch." And look at that illustration underneath. This is an exact representation of our victim's murder, Matthew. You're right. This page must belong to our killer. Let's get it to Evie and see what she can unearth on it. I managed to get all stars, and I will do that yet again. Cabinet. Damaged photo. Rose, spider web, garlic, hats. 3 seconds. have made it past there. I see you found a photo of a young girl amid all of the victim's belongings, Matthew. This photo's other half isn't anywhere in sight. The photo does look to have been recently left behind, so this person must have had contact with our victim. We'll need to question her, but first let's find out who she is. And you're right, perhaps that locked cabinet could offer a helpful clue, if you can open the lock. And there it is. There we are. $13.45. Well, you know what? Considering I'm a little bit behind, I will decide to speed things up a little bit. But that'll come a little later. But first, I want to get all stars. 36663. 33677. 77639. Bingo. There's not much inside this cabinet except for that bottle, Matthew. It could give us a lead. However, the label is faded. I'll get your testing utensils. Aha! A prescription. Matthew, the bottle in the cabinet is a fertility elixir. Not unusual considering we were told Mrs. Miller was a midwife. This is quite the list of ingredients. Chasteberry, evening primrose, red clover, and string nettle. I had no idea these could influence a woman's fertility. And apparently the woman whose fecundity we're discussing is someone by the name of Cordelia Putnam. If Mrs. Putnam was receiving care from our victim, she must have some information she can share with us. Let's go speak with her. Mrs. Cordelia Putnam, we'd like to ask you about the murder of Mrs. Miller. We know she was assisting you with your fertility care. Aubrey is dead? No, that cannot be. Aubrey was the kindest and most caring woman I knew. She helped so many in this town. I relied on her for my fertility care, and she was going to be my midwife when the time came. Do you know anyone who might have wanted to harm her due to the rumors that she was a witch? Aubrey wasn't a witch. Those are just the foolish musings of listless individuals. She was a healer. This is such a loss for Grimm Chapel. Who will we turn to now for all our pregnancies? And the damaged photo. Oh no. There we are. Hope Woodford. Matthew, our archives have identified the girl in the photo we found in the victim's workshop as someone by the name of Hope Woodford. Since we know Miss Woodford recently visited our victim, we shall go have a word with her at once. Miss Woodford, we're with the flying squad. We found your photo in Aubrey Miller's workshop. Oh, the other half of my photo. I can't believe I lost it. It must have fallen out of my sack when I went to Mrs. Miller's looking for my sister. Have you seen this girl? Her name is Faith. She's missing. Been gone for over a month now. I've been looking everywhere for her. The townsfolk have been telling me a witch could help me. I don't believe in witches, but I thought I'd try Mrs. Miller anyway. Unfortunately, she didn't know anything. Regrettably, Mrs. Miller has been murdered. Would you happen to know anything about that? She's dead? But I just saw her yesterday. I'm sorry, I don't know anything about her. I was just passing through looking for my sister. Okay, this is gonna do, and I'll see you guys next time. So sit tight, everyone. I'm gonna grab the stars. I'll see y'all then. Okay, folks, we have returned, and let's get the results of the autopsy. Matthew, I cannot conceive that in this day and age, people still believe in witches. It's absolutely barbaric. Neither do we, but it appears as if someone does, and we need to find out who it is. What can you tell us about the victim? Well, as we know, the victim was forcibly drowned, which makes asphyxiation in water the cause of death. However, prior to drowning, someone struck the victim over the head with a heavy object, most likely a stone, which rendered her unconscious. The killer must have then tied her to the wooden bar and written "witch" with the blood from her head wound. Did the killer leave behind any trace of their presence? Anything we can use as a clue? There's not much of substantial value, except for one thing. The rope that held your victim to the dunking bar was clearly tied by someone who knows knots. Matthew, you'll rope in our killers soon enough, now that we've learned they know their way around knots.
I'm not getting tested. Just do me one favor. Why are we here?
Matthew, do you know how many people died from witch hunts from the 16th to 19th centuries? An estimated 200,000. Isn't that shocking? And the vast majority of those victims were women. Sadly, not much has changed. It seems we have another witch hunt on our hands, which is why we'd like to know about the page the killer used as a murder manual. Yes, about the page you found. It's from a book called the Maleficarum. It's a tome dedicated entirely to learning how to identify and eliminate witches. The killer must have wanted to do the task correctly, given the fact that they followed that book's advice with precision. Well, Matthew, that means we're hot on the trail of a witch-hunting killer who reads Malleus Maleficarum. Matthew, I must admit, I'm dumbfounded that anyone would believe in witches in this age, but the Grimm Chapel residents are proving to be quite the unique community. And because of that, we found the local herbalist who was accused of being a witch drowned to death on an old witch-dunking bar. The killer must truly believe this nonsense, as they follow precise directions from a witch-hunting book. Of the people we've met so far, no one seems like a zealot. Mr. Okamoto, the town historian, was only delighted at the prospect of anything supernatural. Mrs. Cordelia Putnam had only kind words to speak of the victim, whom she credits as an excellent midwife. Matthew, your presence is required immediately. An altercation has erupted in the town square. Ooh. We'll start chapter 2 after this. Alright, folks, we have returned. Let's start chapter 2 of the Witching Hour.
say it was a chop shop, probably just before he was switched.
Any idea where our crispy critter came from?
Follow the bloody brick road.
A man claiming to be the victim's husband is causing a ruckus. What? A fight at the town square? Matthew, let's go sort it out.
Let's say this is where he lost his voice.
My wife was an angel and it's your fault she's dead. Admit it, Miller. You know it's true. Your wife was a witch. Witch. You just shut your mouth or I'll come over there and shut it for you. Alright everyone, that's enough. You people will stop this nonsense immediately. And you, Mr. Miller, will come with us. We'd like to have a word with you. Let's see what he has to say. He's my age. How could these people be so ungrateful and accuse my wife of being a witch after everything that Aubrey did for them? We understand your anger, but you must contain yourself, Mr. Miller. You cannot go about town threatening violence on others. But they're calling her a witch! A witch! My Aubrey was a woman of nature. She healed these people and delivered their offspring. I've read that book, the Mal something. I know what they could have done to her if they thought she was a witch. Can you think of anyone in particular who would have motive to kill her? No, but if I were to find the person that did this to my darling, I'd tie them up tight and roast them over a fire. Mr. Miller, we are the ones who serve justice in this town, so we warn you to please restrain your grief to non-violent means. And good idea, Matthew. While we're here, we should search the area for clues. All right. Creative produce. There we are. 5 seconds. Matthew, this local publication has our victim's name in the headline. The headline reads, Aubrey Miller denounces local resident. Sadly, the article in which she's mentioned is faded. Perhaps you could help uncover the missing text for us. And although I'm not certain what you expect to find in a crate of produce, it's worth a shot looking through it. Ah, a coil of rope with blood. Matthew, you found a coil of bloody rope in the produce crate. We know the killer tied the victim to the dunking bar. Could this be part of the rope the killer used on our victim? Let's send it to Viola immediately.
Talk screen for alcohol and crap is off the chart.
Oh, Mercy's toasted memories. How'd you get so much info from Bernstein?
Same way
12 hours.
Juice him up.
And I will be speeding things up just so I can get caught up.
Rehydration restores the natural chemicals. Now, we hope our victim has it.
There we are.
And the winner is Joshua Michael Dollar, 22.
Matthew, as expected, this article is quoting our victim. It says Mrs. Miller's accusing Mr. Okamoto, the historian, of ruining the town by making false allegations of supernatural occurrences. Mrs. Miller asserts Falsehoods are destroying Grimm Chapel. Mr. Okamoto failed to mention his dispute with the victim. Let's go ask him about it.
Sick with what? Schizophrenia. Diagnosed in 12th grade. Mom couldn't take it.
Mr. Okamoto, we found the local paper where Mrs. Miller accused you of destroying Grimm Chapel. Were you two quarreling? We wouldn't have been if she hadn't been so short-sighted. That foolish woman despised the fact that I was cultivating a supernatural reputation for Grimm Chapel. I'm aware I exaggerate facts sometimes, but that's exactly what this town needs. Thanks to my exquisite work, Grimm Chapel is renowned for its folklore, attracting numerous visitors from all over the world. And Mrs. Miller didn't agree with that practice. All I did was ask her to wear a pointy hat for some witchy flair. I knew she wasn't really a sorceress, but the tourists would have loved it. It's not like I went about town reciting the Malleus Maleficarum at her. Clearly, Mrs. Miller didn't relish being labeled a witch and was killed because of it, and I hope that too wasn't part of your exquisite work of Grimm Chapel. I'll see you guys a little later. Okay, folks, we have come back, and and I'm gonna speed up the coil of rope. Matthew, I've been on pins and needles ever since I discovered that Horatio Rochester was my biological father.
I'll talk to you about it later, okay? But I said later. Give you a lift, Jessica?
I don't usually drink.
I'm set to meet him soon for lunch, and I'm just a ball of nerves.
Here in the morning.
Relax, Viola. I'm certain everything will go well. Perhaps helping us with the bloody rope we found at the town square will distract you. You're right. Well, regarding the rope, I confirmed the blood on it as a perfect match for the victims.
Didn't come here to grill me too, did you?
The killer must have dirtied the rope after inflicting the bloody gash on the victim's head. Indeed, and furthermore, on the rope, I found traces of Hamamelis virginiana. It's a medicinal plant used as the main ingredient for an estrogen tonic called Hazel water. With this development, it's safe to say your killer uses Hazel water.
I just can't seem to get from
Matthew the killer is in hot water now. As we discovered, they use Hazel water.
Somebody just saw.
And on that note, we should return to the victim's workshop and give it another thorough search.
But I need to have a word with Mrs. Fletcher.
What is it,
Jessica, how come you can tell me that Mark Mitchell took a poke at Jovi?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Artie. I didn't withhold anything. It simply never occurred to me that it had anything to do with the murder.
Well, according to Dee Dee, Jovi's assistant, Brother Marcus had an ongoing feud with the victim. Mr. Mitchell?
Actually, I think I'm going to switch up.
For the record, you
Go
don't
with
take a swing at
Mountain
Jovi.
Goat.
Of course not. My only regret is I didn't deck him.
He had it coming.
You're leading up to a justifiable homicide.
Oh, Lieutenant, my brother's not a murderer.
She's right, Lieutenant. Besides, ask around. There must be a list as long as the FDR drive of people who hated Jovi. He had the reputation of a pickpocket. Now look, Miss Mitchell is
See one
upset
clue.
enough that her sculpture was used as a murder weapon, so we'd appreciate it if you just make your point and then leave us alone.
Done. Our lab turned up some prints on the sculpture. They were yours, Mr. Mitchell. Seems that the NCIC had them on file, along with a record of several other arrests, up at Cabot Cove.
I was showing it off to people before the auction.
There we are.
I saw him with the sculpture in his hand.
Where were you at 9 p.m. last night?
Me? Ted and I went to dinner.
$852,800.
I left about 8:30 and went to Jovi's gallery.
To 19th already.
I was angry as hell for what he pulled on Kim and what he did to Ted.
Crikey, Matthew. What's on this dish? It looks like an arrangement of ghoulish biscuits.
I was ready to beat the hell out of him. So
Was this some sort of a threat against the victim? Maybe a sample of the yellow liquid on that plate will tell us more. And you're right, Matthew. Repairing that broken sign could prove to be helpful.
Good starts with G. Great tasting whole grains.
They're whole. glistening with
Genuine cinnamon, it's true.
All right.
cocoa, peanut butter, and honey, too. Good starts with G.
Liberty Mutual stood with me when this
Taking
guy
care of
had a
everything
flat tire
else.
in the middle of the night.
Hold on, Dad. Liberty did what?
Yeah, Liberty Mutual 24-hour roadside assistance helped him to fix his flat so he could get home safely.
My dad says our insurance doesn't have that. Don't worry, I know what a lug wrench is, Dad. Is this a lug wrench?
Maybe. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty stands with you.
Now that we have a sample of the liquid from that dish of macabre biscuits, let us analyze it under a microscope, Matthew.
I'd love to tell you about our indulgent best chocolate cake blizzard.
It's chocolate, velvety.
Yes, it is rich, much like my phone voice.
The new DQ Best Chocolate Cake Blizzard in Molten Lava Cake a la mode.
Welcome to Dairy Queen.
Sharon was given a few months to live if her cancer wasn't treated.
I was diagnosed with advanced non-small cell lung cancer, which I thought meant chemo. But a biomarker test showed I had high levels of PD-L1, which meant I could start with a different treatment.
1 year later, she's here with her family. A true story with Keytruda.
On Keytruda, my scans started showing good news.
In a clinical study, Keytruda offered patients a longer life and with high levels of PD-L1,
Herbs and
could be the first
berries.
treatment instead of chemotherapy.
Matthew, the liquid
Keytruda is
sample
for
we
adults
obtained from the
with
dish is a
non-small cell lung
combination of
cancer with
chasteberry,
spread,
evening
test positive for
primrose,
PD-L1,
red clover, and
used
string nettle. Why does that sound familiar?
Keytruda helps
Brilliant
organize
memory.
fight
These are
cancer.
indeed the ingredients we saw in the fertility elixir we found earlier. That elixir was prescribed for Mrs. Putnam. So could it have been Mrs. Putnam who left these ghoulish biscuits at the victim's workshop? Let's ask her what she meant by it.
Nausea or vomiting, rapid heartbeat, increased hunger or thirst, constipation, dizziness or fainting, changes in urine, changes in eyesight, muscle pain or weakness, joint pain, rash,
Mrs.
itching or
Putnam,
flushing.
were you the one who
As
left
this
these
may keep
macabre
these
biscuits at
problems
Mrs.
from
Miller's
becoming
workshop?
serious, these are not
If
all
so, were
possible
they meant
side
to be a
effects
threat of
Keytruda.
some kind?
Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions.
Heavens no.
including immune
It's
system
customary in
problems,
Grimm
or if you've
Chapel
had
that when
an
someone
organ
loses a
transplant
family
or
member,
breathing or living
we make treats for the funeral. I shared mine with Aubrey.
Living longer is possible. It's true. Keytruda.
Did you lose someone
Ask
recently?
your doctor about Keytruda.
I have suffered a miscarriage, Senior Trooper Matthew, the latest of many.
Does psoriasis ever get in the way of
I
a
keep
touching
losing my
moment?
babies. I've even
If you
tried
have
healthy
moderate to
fertility
severe
knots and hazel
psoriasis,
water,
you can embrace
but
the
nothing
chance
has
of
worked.
completely clear skin with Taltz.
We're very sorry for your loss,
Taltz is
Mrs.
proven to give
Putnam.
you a
Does
chance
it mean
at
Mrs.
completely
Miller's
clear
fertility
skin.
treatments
With
weren't
Taltz,
working?
Up to 90% of patients had a
They might have if
significant
she'd
improvement
continued
of their
giving them to
psoriasis
me,
plaques.
but she said that
In
it would be
fact,
dangerous
for
for
a
my health if
even
I kept trying to
completely clear
conceive,
skin.
so she refused to help me
Do not
anymore.
use if you are allergic to Taltz. Before starting,
It wasn't
you
her
should
place
check
to
for
tell me when to quit
tuberculosis.
trying.
Taltz may increase
She
your
was
risk
just
of
an
infections
herbalist,
and lower
and I
your
would
ability to
have made her
Tell
help
your
me
doctor
whether
if
she
you are
wanted
being
to or
treated
not.
for an infection or have symptoms, or if you have
Mrs.
received the
Putnam,
vaccine
we
or
hope for your
cancer.
sake that your
Inflammatory
disagreement with her
bowel disease
didn't
can
end in
have
murder.
effects, including worsening of symptoms. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Now's your chance at completely clear skin. Just ask your doctor about Taltz.
Ready to take your fitness to new heights?
Okay.
It's time you go vertical with Maxi Climber, the fitness breakthrough for a calorie-burning, fat-blasting workout with intense muscle toning. Maxi Climber burns double the calories in the same amount of time as the treadmill. That's because Maxi Climber works your upper body and lower body
There
at
we
the
are.
same time. Every step you take brings you one step closer to the
Matthew,
body
this
you
must be the
dreamed
sign
of.
that hung over a
Call now.
victim's door.
Also
Aubrey
available
Miller,
at
open
participating
daily.
retailers.
And someone wrote witch on it in red paint. Fortunately for us, that person left fingerprints behind. And if we send this to Evie, she'll be able to tell us who that was.
It's only a question. They haven't charged him with a crime.
The night's still young.
And I'll see you guys in 12 hours.
Kim, I am so sorry over the alibi.
Thank you all for watching. Okay, folks, we have come back, and let's get the results of the fingerprints. Matthew, have you picked up the latest edition of the Concordian Gazette? Not as of yet. Why do you ask? Well, because they published a story I sent them. This is just the beginning, too. They've liked it so much, they want me to contribute stories regularly. Just think of it, Matthew. With Catherine and I both writing for the Gazette, we'll be a couple made in journalistic heaven. Congratulations, Evie. That's great news. I can't wait to read it. And speaking of writing, we'd like to know about the fingerprints someone left behind when scrawling the word witch on the victim's shop sign.
Sheraton.
About the fingerprints, I compared them to our archives and found a match. They belong to one Abigail Walcott. She's a resident of Grimm Chapel. Brilliant! Matthew, let's go find this Abigail Walcott and ask what caused her to vandalize Mrs. Miller's property. She's defaced. You're the ones investigating Aubrey Miller's death, right? Tell me, was she attacked by demons? Eaten by werewolves? It's what a witch deserves. Mrs. Miller was tragically murdered by someone in this town, and we shall remind you that she was not a witch, no matter what you wrote on her door sign. What made you deface her property like that? I did it because Mrs. Miller was an evil witch. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I was Mrs. Miller's apprentice. I saw everything. She had a collection of dark spell books and was insistent on teaching me knots to ward off the evil spirits. One night, I followed her to the pond where I saw her drinking baby's blood, summoning demons and flying about on a broomstick. That is truly ridiculous. It's the truth. I wasn't frightened because I've read the Malleus Maleficarum. I could defend myself. Others wouldn't be so lucky. I know what I saw, and everyone in town says she was a witch. So what do you know? I know that your imagination is certainly quite active, and that you should not go too far because we'll need to speak with you again. Matthew, I'm at my wit's end with all this talk of sorcery. Not only does this town firmly believe in such nonsense, a woman lost her life to it. Aubrey Miller was rumored to be a witch and was drowned on a dunking bar because of those falsehoods. But who is this fervent believer of witchcraft who murdered our victim? Mr. Miller, our victim's husband, did display quite the bout of anger earlier, however, was in defense of his wife's honor. And Mr. Okamoto had a falling out with our victim because he wanted her to pretend to be a witch in order to attract tourists. And then there's Miss Walcott, who seems to be utterly thrilled with the morbid details of this entire case. Matthew, I don't know what to do. I need your help. Mother of pearl, Charlie, what's gotten you in this state? Someone's put a spell on me. I've been cursed. What? You can't be serious. I'll see you guys for Chapter 3. Okay, folks, we have returned, and let's start Chapter 3 of The Witching Hour. Matthew, I am at my wit's end with all this talk of sorcery. Not only does this town firmly believe in such nonsense, a woman was murdered because of it. Aubrey Miller was rumored to be a witch and was drowned on a dunking bar because of those falsehoods. All this absurdity must be brought to end as quickly as possible. Oh, I remember this now. Cursed? What are you talking about? Well, earlier I saw a rabbit's foot lying about in town square, so I picked it up. But then the townspeople told me it was cursed, and I would have bad luck for 15 years. And then 2 minutes later, I was nearly run over by a cart. The villagers were right. I'm doomed. Darling, don't let the villagers infect you with their silly superstitions. You aren't doomed. But if you want to be sure, I shall lift the curse with a little kiss. Whoa. Nice. Feeling better, Charlie? Yes, my darling, thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. And now that the case of the mysterious curse has been solved, we can continue on our case of the dead witch. Matthew, let's return to the town square for another search. pineapple. Boom. '27th on the leaderboard. All right. Matthew, locked bags often bring surprises. So let's say you crack open this one to see what's inside. And if you believe that torn document can offer insight into our case, I trust you to restore it. Quickly, Matthew. Marriage certificate. Matthew, this document you restored is a marriage certificate. And this certificate is for our victim and her husband. Strange that we found it ripped up. And what's that faded message written on it? A good Dustin can answer that for us. Pretty sure this is going to be the 9-hour wait, but I will be speeding this up. The message on the marriage certificate says, "I know you're cheating on me, Will." You're right, this must have been written by our victim. She's accusing her husband of cheating on her. And look, she also says he'd regret it. With these accusations coming to light, we need to go speak to Mr. Miller at once.
Putting semen in a woman without her consent should be considered rape. The ADA doesn't see it that way. So, is there anything else that guys like this do?
Mr. Miller, you didn't mention your marriage was in trouble. Your wife discovered you were cheating on her. Oh, you found that out, huh? I cannot tell a lie, Senior Trooper Matthew. I was unfaithful to my wife, but I am not proud of it. It was a moment of weakness, Senior Trooper Matthew. I tried atoning for my actions. I even dedicated myself to making her Hazel water, but Aubrey wouldn't forgive me. And can you blame her? You were unfaithful to her, something which upset her very much. It did. So much that Aubrey threatened to leave me, but a rupture of that sort would have caused a scandal. My reputation and hers would have been ruined. Not to mention Abigail's name would have been dragged through the mud as well. You were unfaithful with your young apprentice? Abigail was so beautiful in the light of the moon, and I was weak. Mr. Miller, I hope you didn't kill your wife to pave the way for a new romance. And you're right, Matthew. We're going to need to have a word with Miss Walcott immediately. Miss Walcott, we know the truth about your illicit liaison with William Miller. It seems you got more than just an apprenticeship from our victim. Yes, I did have an affair with William, and I'm not sorry about it. Honestly, everything was great between William and I until Aubrey caught us. She even threatened to tell the whole town about it. So before she could say anything, I told everyone that she was a witch to discredit her. That way no one would believe a word she said. So you were the one who deliberately spread that rumor. in order to protect her own indecent actions. No wonder you were so keen on making us believe she was a witch. I did, and it worked. I even took my Hazel water, pretending to get sick from it, and told people she gave me poison. Everyone believed it. I started a real fervor for the Malleus Maleficarum, too. Even gullible old Cordelia Putnam got a copy. Miss Walcott, your reckless accusations cost a woman her life, and if you actually murder her, the last rumor you'll start will be in prison. Alright. What's this apparatus you found inside the bag? That thing looks a bit foreboding with all those shells and bones hanging from it. Perhaps you should send this object to Rose. She might be able to tell us just what it is. Alright. 9 hours. But we're gonna speed this up. We're gonna speed this baby up and Mountie, this object you sent me makes for an entertaining change from all the weapons I normally get. So it's not a weapon? Well, it's a supernatural one. It turns out it's a witch's bramble, a handmade device created by witches to amplify magic. The bramble's primarily used for magical purposes like protection, spellbinding, or guidance in finding things. So what can you tell us about this particular bramble? Well, the small blue perfume bottle indicates that whoever used it is presumably looking for a lost relative, most likely a sister or mother. You're right, Matthew. Our suspect, Hope Woodford, was searching for her missing sister. This bramble must be hers. She told us she didn't believe in magic. Given how steeped in superstition this murder is, we'd better have another word with Hope. Miss Woodford, you told us you don't believe in witches, but we found evidence that you do, and in our investigation, this is suspicious. Well, I don't actually believe in magic, but I was desperate to find my sister, so I made that bramble. I tried other things, but nothing worked, and I'm really good with knots, so I figured why not make one? It was worth a shot. Then I heard there was a real witch in town, so I returned to Mrs. Miller's looking for help with magic. But she just called me meddlesome and threw me out. Despite my pleas, she wouldn't help me, Senior Trooper Matthew. You sound like you were quite angry with Mrs. Miller. I was. If Mrs. Miller had helped me, maybe my sister would be with me now. That's all I want. Well, Mrs. Miller couldn't help you because she wasn't a witch, and now she's dead. Hopefully not by your hand. Matthew, I'm pleased to be back on the airship away from all that sorcery speak. Now let us unpack the information we have so far, shall we? We learned the victim's husband was having an affair with Miss Walcott, something that would have certainly caused a stir with the townsfolk. And in order to quell any potential gossip about the affair, Miss Walcott thought it best to create her own rumor and label Mrs. Miller a witch. Unfortunately, this rumor cost Mrs. Miller her life. But who was it that killed her? You're right, Matthew. If we return to the scene of the crime, we can conclude this case once and for all.
Rob's a therapist.
Therapist cop. Not that I ever want to follow in his footsteps.
Me either, but my sister's boyfriend beat the hell out of her one night. Next thing I know, I'm a domestic violence counselor in Buffalo.
Well, I hate to say it, but it might be easier if this guy was hitting me.
It's true. That's what makes him so dangerous. There's no limit to the number of women whose lives
Alright.
he can wreck. Thank God.
And I will...
She's had misdemeanors not worth her time, especially since it rests on a paperwork technicality. She said any good defense attorney would get him off the snap on the wrist. You brought him in just to let him go.
Well, we thought our DA might punt on it. No cell phones allowed in here. You're free to go. You know, Detective, I'd consider suing you for what? But for your kid's sake, I ain't seen it.
Aha!
Leslie, there's your father. Yoko's father.
There we are.
So now, I guess she's what's going on? All this is it's embarrassing. To make you all realize how big it is.
Son of a bitch.
Alright.
You said I was your one and only. Tom said he'd marry me. And me. Jenny.
You said little Leslie's the best thing that ever happened to you.
And you said we were going to be a family.
Crikey, Matthew. That's the Malleus Maleficarum, the book the killer used as a murder manual. And inside there's a page missing. This must be the book from which the killer ripped out the page about witch drowning. But what are those red flakes on it? Knowing this book is the killer's, we need to get a sample of that post-haste. And I agree, Matthew. We should search for that pile of wood to see what else the killer left behind for us.
I'm sorry, I didn't sneak into your room.
No, just my daughter, Trish.
Trish. Hey, how's the room?
The name's Max. And she's here just nice.
Got it. 7. Matthew, now that we have a sample of the red flakes from the killer's book, let's send it to Viola for analysis immediately.
My children. Of course I feel responsible.
I love the fruit. Shame on you. You've overturned the lives of 20 women.
Overturned? Yes. 20? Not even close.
What are you talking about?
Double check New York. The country, then Europe. To find out if
A bloody stone. Well, blow me down, Matthew. That large stone you found in the pile of wood is covered in blood. Dick mentioned the victim had been hit over the head with a stone before being drowned. This must be it.
It's amazing.
Let's send the stone to Viola to see what they can tell us about the killer.
Maybe Audrey's research can raise awareness about reproductive coercion and pass laws about it. Poking holes in condoms will become a fraud with intent to deceive.
9 hours, and I'll see y'all then. Until this is over. For now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, folks, we have returned, and let's get the results of the flakes. Viola, what have you found regarding the sample from the killer's book? Well, it's a rather decorative clue. What do you mean? In studying the red flakes, I discovered they are chips of red nail lacquer. The flakes of lacquer must have been transferred to the book from the killer's hands. Matthew, we've got the upper hand on our killer now that we know they fancy donning nail varnish. Boy, I think this might be a tough one. but I think it eliminates the husband. Matthew, your killer is just a stone's throw away, and I can help you get there. Excellent, Viola. We're all ears. I'll begin by confirming that the blood on the stone you found does in fact match your victim's. So we were right. The killer did use this stone to bash our victim's head in. Yes, they did. And the killer left behind some skin cells while doing so. I put them in the DNA machine. And I noticed that there was less collagen in these cells than in those of a young person. Collagen gives the skin its strength and elasticity. With age, the structural integrity of the skin declines and the body produces less of it. I had no idea. That DNA machine is amazing. It is, especially when it can tell us that your stone-wielding killer is over the age of 21. Matthew, our killer, is sure to age even faster once you've apprehended them. Matthew, it's time to work your magic and arrest Aubrey Miller's killer. Oh no, it doesn't put the killers. Doesn't put the husband in the clear. But one thing's for sure, it's not George Okamoto. Ooh. Wait a minute, let me look. Okay, it's not Hope Woodford. Okay, it's not the husband. I was right the first time. It was not the husband. I must have been looking at... Yes. I was thinking that this was the... Okay, I was wrong the first time. It was not the husband. It's definitely not Abigail Walcott. Because she's only 20 years old. And it appears to be Cordelia Putnam. Mrs. Cordelia Putnam, you're under arrest for the murder of Aubrey Miller. But I didn't. I could never do that to Aubrey. She helped me so much. I don't think drowning her as indicated in your Malleus Maleficarum speaks highly of your feelings. Just because I have a copy of the Malleus Maleficarum does not mean I use it. Really? Then why do we find your book at the pond covered in fresh chips of your nail lacquer? Senior Trooper Matthew, your accusations are vile and unfounded. My stomach's in knots now, which is never a good thing for my fertility. You mean knots like the tight ones you slipped around Mrs. Miller when you tied her to the dunking bar and drowned her? You might as well admit it, Mrs. Putnam. We know it was you who hit her over the head with a stone and then drowned her. Very well then. Yes, I murdered Aubrey. But it had to happen. Aubrey was an evil witch who murdered my babies. She did what? You told us all Aubrey did was stop your fertility treatment when the frequent miscarriages got too dangerous for your health. I thought that at first, but then I heard the news that she was a witch and everything made sense. Aubrey was the reason I kept losing my babies. She must have cursed me. And when I confronted her about it, she denied it. But a mother knows the truth, and a mother protects her children. You mean by tying an innocent woman to a dunking bar and drowning her? When I struck her over the head and she fell next to the pond, it all became clear. She needed to die like a witch. So I dragged her body to the bar as well as I could and tied her there before she came to, and then I drowned her. She ruined my life and killed my babies, I had to pay her back for everything I suffered, so I killed her as one would kill a dark sorceress. Mrs. Putnam, we sympathize with the pain of losing your unborn children, but your grief led you to murder an innocent woman. You're under arrest. Mrs. Cordelia Putnam, you're charged with the murder of Mrs. Aubrey Miller. How do you plead? There is innocence in my guilt, Your Honor. Aubrey was an evil witch who cursed my unborn babies. She had to pay for her wicked ways. Mrs. Putnam, we are centuries past the dark days of the witch hunts that saw to the deaths of so many innocent people. And it was during those trying days for humanity where we established that witches do not exist, something that still holds true today. The truth is, you fell prey to the malice of rumor and committed a wicked murder, and so your crime will be duly punished. I sentence you to 25 years in prison. But how will I have babies now? Matthew, it's tragic to see what grief does to people. Mrs. Putnam needed to find a reason for her miscarriages, so she murdered an innocent woman. Of course, this never would have happened if rumors about the victim's witchery hadn't spread like wildfire with so many people believing them. It's clear that Grimm Chapel is deeply steeped in the mythology of the supernatural. I shudder to think what future investigations will have in store for us. But as we came here to investigate the Rochester family's deal with the devil, we have no choice but to venture further. Onward, Matthew. And I'll see you guys for Lost Souls 1-6, but first of all, a look at the other ones. Hope Woodford, cleared early. William Miller, no nail polish. Abigail Walcott, 20 years old. George Okamoto, cleared from the start. It was Cordelia Putnam. I'll see you all for Lost Souls 1-6. Okay, folks, we have returned, and let's start Lost Souls 1-6. Matthew, Grimm Chapel greeted us with a murder and a killer Grimm Chapel greeted us with a murder and a killer steeped in supernatural superstitions. Which is fitting in a way, given we came here to investigate a deal with the devil the Rochester family had allegedly made. According to Lady Highmore's sources, this influential family uses the devil's help to make their enemies disappear. As we know, the Rochesters are capable of rather nefarious dealings. These accusations do merit further investigation. Matthew, perhaps we can start our search at the town square. Excuse me, Matthew, before you go, could I have a word with you? Absolutely, Viola. Matthew, we can go see what Viola needs, and then we can head to the town square to begin our search for the devil. Okay, let's see what Viola wants. What did you want to see us about, Viola? Matthew, I'm set to meet Horatio for lunch today, but I admit I'm a bag of nerves. I'm still reeling from discovering that he's my father. I'd really like to make a good impression and show off my talents. So I was thinking, perhaps I could mix up an elixir for Horatio. The last time we met, he was complaining of a headache. I could make one to help him with that. The only thing is, I'm fresh out of Tanacetum parthenium leaves. Without it, I can't make the elixir. Do you think you could help me find some, Matthew? It has white leaves and a yellow heart. Looks a bit like a daisy. Knowing that Mrs. Miller was a herbalist, perhaps we could find some at her workshop. Thank you, Matthew. And before you go to the workshop, allow me to offer you this. Okay, pointy hat. cauldron. Here we are. Another 400 coming my way. Matthew, I don't think it's in Viola's best interest to get so close to Horatio, but I didn't have the heart to refuse her when she's so excited about it all. Do you think that cauldron could have any of that plant Viola needs? It's worth a look. There they are, plant. Matthew, this plant you found in the cauldron looks like what Viola described. Let's send this to her and hope it's the right thing. Now, the town square. I know the next case is probably not going to open until towards the end of this week, but on Thursday. But I did speed things up, and I am done before the week even begins. Oh, there's a crow. Who would have thought that'd be the clue? Oh, there's a saw. Matthew, did you just find a crow with a parchment scroll tied to his leg? That is bizarre. In unscrolling this parchment, we can read the message on it. My end of the deal is done. Use this and they'll be dead. That message sounds like it's talking about a murder, and it's signed by the devil. Wait a minute, a deal? Like the deal the Rochester family allegedly made? So does this devil actually exist? And do they send people instructions on how to commit murders? Quickly, Matthew. Maybe deciphering the code will put us on their trail. Three 6663. Okay. There we are. Matthew, now that we have the numbers from the devil's message, we can send them to Evie immediately. And that is going to do for this, and I'll see you guys then.
Check
Okay, folks, we have returned. Let's get the results of the numbers first. Evie, do you have any information on the numbers the devil left on their message? Indeed, the number was a reference to a passage in an obscure book of illusions and tricks. The selected passage describes a way to use chemicals to create balls of fire that seem to appear out of nowhere and disappear again without a trace. The devil said, "Use it and they'll be dead." Can this trick be used to kill someone? Yes. The book also warns that this trick is incredibly dangerous. Apparently, if it goes wrong, it can kill a person within seconds. So the devil's message really was instructions for how to commit a murder. Matthew, if someone were to use a fireball as such to kill someone, it wouldn't look like murder. It would mimic something supernatural, like spontaneous human combustion. In other words, like the kind of freak deaths Lady Highmore described as having happened to numerous Rochester enemies.
Tastes like better.
Fortunately, this murder was averted because we intercepted the instructions, but who knows how many more have been planned. We came here chasing a nebulous deal with the devil, but it turns out the devil is real and lethal. This person has to be stopped. You're right, Matthew. If someone is familiar with all this devil talk, it would be the local historian. We must go speak with Mr. Okamoto at once.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71. These aren't actors, they're real people.
Talk to Okamoto. Senior Trooper Matthew, you're back. Are you looking to hear more of my fantastic stories? We are indeed here to solicit your expert advice. More specifically, we like to know about the devil. We are led to believe that there is someone helping townspeople commit murders by disguising themselves as supernatural occurrences. My, Senior Trooper Matthew, you're certainly asking for the juicy stories. Why, of course I've heard of the devil. It's one of Grimm Chapel's most famous tales. Legend has it, if one wants to eliminate someone, one just needs to leave a message for the devil. If you leave this note on the rocks of the swampy pond, the devil will aid you in the task. The pond, you say? Matthew, we must go there at once. The devil awaits no one. Senior Trooper Matthew, I recommend you enjoy some of the local fare while you're here. Grimm Chapel is known for its culinary delights. Alright.
All these years I have given up things so that you could have a decent life. I don't need new shoes. I want you to play bingo. No, Mom, I don't need that vacation. You need new wallpaper. My car will last another year.
All right, Dorothy. I see behind that mask.
Let's see. Where is the clue?
You've been hoarding money for the last 10 years and taking advantage of me. Of course I
Aha.
No, it's something else.
Chest.
I think you didn't get enough looks when you were a kid. It's payback time. Come here, pussycat.
Why don't you hug your money, Mom? From now on, I'm not paying for anything. You are on your own.
You can't do this to me. You
Time
never
of
touch
toad.
the principal. That money's from old age.
Old age. You don't leave fingerprints anymore.
Here we go.
Now you're cut off.
Matthew, that ornate chest looks like it's been here for a while. It's quite weathered and covered in weeds and algae, and a frog. Could someone have left it on the rocks for the devil? It looks like it slipped and fell into the water. Quick, let's open it up.
I'm your pharmacist.
You're Bill. Bill the pharmacist.
Bill, the man in your life. I'll pick you up afterward. Goodbye, love.
Hey, what's wrong? My handsome soldier from last night is a pharmacist. I'm name tag wearing, pill counting, thank you come get some real pharmacist.
SC8A. There we are. Matthew, this chest is filled with gold coins. This must have been someone's payment to the devil, but who left it? It looks like something is written on the lid, but it's faded with all the water. Perhaps you should give it a good dusting.
How do you think this sounds? Dear Bill, I always promised my father, Big Daddy, that I would never get serious with anybody he didn't approve of. Since he is dead, I know
Larry Rochester.
he's too good for me. Sometimes the truth is best.
Matthew, that's Larry Rochester's name written on the lid of the chest. Wait a minute, does it mean Larry left this money for the devil? In exchange for the devil's help in killing Deputy Mayor Huang? When we arrested Larry, he did say he'd hoped that finding the deputy mayor's still ticking heart would scare us away from the investigation. This fits the pattern of the devil helping to disguise murders as supernatural occurrences. This is proof that at least one Rochester used the devil's services. But is Larry the one? Larry the only one? We must confront him immediately.
Blanche, instead of sending the letter, why don't you talk to him? You get to know him. Find out where this goes. You know, ever since we've known you, you have never once worked on having a meeting.
We know the truth, Larry. You paid the devil to help you murder Deputy Mayor Huang, didn't you? Senior Trooper Matthew, what a charming accusation. But I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't sell us a dog. We know there's a person helping people commit murders that look supernatural. And we found the money you left at a pond in Grimm Chapel as payment for this person's service. So you found some of my money. I have so much, I can't even keep track of it all. And you speak of all this devil stuff as if I know something, but I really haven't the foggiest idea who this person could be. Despite the proof we found, are you really going to claim that neither you nor your family have ever used the devil's services to make someone disappear? Oh, Senior Trooper Matthew, if you only knew how many ways my family could make someone disappear, you'd never sleep again. Now, speaking of that money of mine, would you mind giving it back? Gold and caviar costs a lot in prison. Out of the question. We're confiscating the lot.
Signal together all the way.
And the plants. Matthew, how do I look? Absolutely wonderful, Viola. I see you're all ready to go. I take it the plant bundle we found was the right one for your elixir? Yes, it was. Thank you, Matthew. The Tanacetum parthenium plant, which is commonly known as feverfew, has a potent curative action against headaches. When feverfew is mixed with lavender extract, clary sage, and willow, it makes a very effective migraine elixir. I think Horatio will really appreciate it. I'm sure he will, but please be careful, Viola. You're still getting to know your newfound father. Oh, Madeline, you sound like my mother. She's always warning me about him, but I'm sure it'll go wonderfully. Anyway, I must go. He's waiting for me. Matthew, our recent discoveries have proven that Viola's newly discovered family is involved in some dark dealings in Grimm Chapel. We came here to investigate their alleged deal with the devil, and in fact, came upon the trail of a local denizen calling themselves as such. Apparently, this devil person helps people disguise murders as supernatural occurrences. We found proof Larry Rochester paid for this person's services, presumably to help him kill Deputy Mayor Huang. Larry denied both his and his family's involvement with this devil, but it's clear he was lying. They're definitely up to no good. I couldn't agree more, Matthew. We need to do everything in our power to clean up this city, starting with the Rochesters. And in order to do that, I decided to submit my candidate for deputy mayor. Together we can restore law and order to this fine city of ours. Judge Lawson, that's excellent news. I'd wondered who'd replace Deputy Mayor Huang. You can count on us to support your bid. Thank you, Senior Trooper Matthew, and I'm happy to help you in your investigation of this devil person. Don't worry, Judge Lawson. We'll make exorcising the devil from Grimm Chapel our main priority. And that does it.
I used to put the Haley's MO on the bottom. Nothing. Then I put it eye level. The public went nuts. It was walking out of the store.
Okay, let me see.
People will bend for aspirins. They won't bend for laxatives.
Isn't that fascinating, Bill? So, Bill, what's on sale?
Response.
What else?
A frog.
Moving on.
Well, I'll think about either one of these three. But let's go back inside here.
So, Bill, what other exciting things can you tell me about the drugstore business?
Blanche, we got to talk. You know, the laxative thing, that's about as exciting as it gets. This place, my job, it's pretty routine.
Oh, well, you're talking about your hero.
Over there. Over here, I'm just an ordinary guy.
Señor B, por favor, mi hijo tiene fiebre y es
That's
solamente
three.
un bebé.
Excuse me. Here. You give your son this every 4 hours. And if his fever doesn't go down, you take him to see El Doctor Siegel at 11th and Main.
Gracias.
De nada.
And it looks like I'm gonna get some more energy.
Welcome home.
It is almost. Last night I wasn't quite here yet.
Let's take a look at my cards real quick.
I handed you that rose. I realized I was standing at a stranger's door.
See, September 21st. That's in 3 days.
I'm a pharmacist since 50s and you're a woman of their.
Watch it, Bill.
Okay, 4 sticker packs.
You're a woman in the prime of her life. Slow.
4 new ones.
I caught this old lady assaulting me with the last tube of preparation H.
Only 2 of them.
Tube broken, it's over, I'll say. Junior for scooping up the rest of the ointment and putting it in her purse.
3 of them. 3 rare ones. And 2 of them are ones that I don't have. 4 new ones.
I bought you a little something.
You what?
I bought you a new handbag to replace the one that you ruined at the drugstore.
Oh, thank God.
Case
It looks
12.
like it's a change purse.
Okay.
Wait a minute. What's the catch?
Oh, there's no catch. I just realized I like taking care of you. Just wish you could have told me about the money so we could be honest with each other.
It's not that I want the money. If I don't leave my children anything, I'm a nobody. How many times have I heard he provided well or she didn't leave a dime? I want you to be able to have everything you want.
All right.
And when you do, you think.
And that will do. And I'll see you guys on September 21st. See y'all then.